Hi, I'm Stu Kagan, and welcome to Born Scrappy, the podcast for scrap metal exporters and traders. Join me in conversation with some of the most experienced traders and operators that have helped shape this incredible industry. In today's episode, I'm joined by Autumn Barnes. Autumn has been trading metal for almost 25 years now and spent 20 of them at Sims as the director of North American Containerized Ferrous Trading. She currently holds the role of Vice President of Trade at the United Metal Solutions Group. Autumn is always available to help others in the industry and share her wealth of experience. But enough from me. Let's hear what Autumn has to say. But first, intro. Morning, Autumn. How are you?
Very well, Stu. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thanks. It's a little bit crazy here this morning. We've got school holidays, so the kids are running wild. So don't get put off if one of them running here screaming and if one's hurt the other or something like that. So, but just be aware of that at the moment and how you
All
guys
right, we
there.
got daddy daycare today. I gotcha. No
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, absolutely. But they're all good and they're playing. That's cool. Autumn, we haven't chatted for a long time. How have you been?
I've been very well and doing some
Awesome.
traveling. It was a great summer, did some work traveling, did some holiday traveling, so it was nice. Now you know, back to the office and getting everything done here and
The
traveling
fun
we're going to
stuff.
put on hold for a little while.
Yeah, that's okay. Now you can do the fun stuff and grind and I know you
Exactly.
enjoy it, so that's really cool. It's great to enjoy your work.
Yes.
Autumn, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in recycling and how long you've been doing it. I know quite a bit of it, but I'm not sure if the listeners do.
It was purely by accident. I had a friend in the family who was in the industry. He was an executive for many years and he needed help. I had just moved to Manhattan and needed a job with benefits, preferably. And so he hired me, gave me a chance. And it was basically like, well, you'll pretty much know in the first few months if this is for you or not. So I stuck with it. I've been telling my story quite a lot lately. And one of the first major events that happened to me when I moved to New York was World Trade Center happened. And so, the company that I was working for at the time was handling that account. And, we did have a lot of involvement with moving that World Trade Center scrap out of the United States or within the domestic market. So that's really how I started. It was a major influence with my career, and I knew at that point that it was something I was really interested in and how this material moved and how it was valued.
Yeah, that's a crazy story. I didn't actually know
Yeah.
that's how you
Yeah.
got started. Um,
Yeah.
how long have you been doing it? I think you were at Sims because I was at Sims for a little while you were there. You were there for quite a while, 20 years or something.
Yeah, a little over 20 something years. Yeah. I started in the office, executive assistant, and worked my way through the different departments, logistics, and then sales and trade.
Hmm. And then where have you moved on to now?
Well, right now I am working for the last almost 3 years. It's United Metal Solutions Group. We are a trading company, international trading company. So we do have various processing yards on the East Coast, about 11 now, I think. So they're growing. So we're partnered with a company called Alpha Recycling and Global Refining, based in about 4 states now, actually five. That would be Nevada, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. And so, my position here as vice president of trade is to really handle like third party sourcing materials. So it could be North America, Europe, Central America, South, and that scrap going to various locations around the
Hmm.
world. Most of it's going to India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Some of it to Southeast Asia.
Are those some of your relationships as well, or have you got offices in those areas?
We do have offices in those areas. Yeah. Our biggest area right now is, of course, India. We have a distribution center in the northern part of Punjab.
Okay, brilliant. And I saw just the other day you are now on the speaking scene as well. So at Scrap Expo, you were there talking about women's contribution. How was that for you?
It was fantastic. One of the things that I wanted to do throughout my career is, you know, start to be more visible. And, I think now we have a platform to be able to do that, especially with technology and everything now. So that was
Mm,
something I wanted to do. I just maybe didn't feel comfortable doing it, to be quite honest. But now I'm in a place in my career where I know I have to step up, and
yeah.
hand over the torch. Maybe do some mentoring if somebody wants to listen. I would be available to do that. So this is a new chapter for me.
Well, that's awesome. I think, you've got one over 20 years experience now. And we speak about bringing in the next generation so much, and it's about putting our hands up to be available to mentor others. With 20 years experience, don't hold back. I mean, people need to hear from you. People can learn so much from you. You've been through so much, which hopefully will come through in the next, in the next hour or so, or half an hour or so. And really,
Wow.
you know, what you're saying to people is, if they want to reach out to you, Autumn's available for mentoring, and don't be shy. I mean, get there and speak to Autumn and speak to a whole bunch of us. And we want to help the next generation. We really want to keep making the industry go from strength to strength. So it's great that you put your hand up, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of other people following you as well.
Yeah, I hope so.
Mm. So, Autumn, tell us a bit about your journey, right? So tell us what tough stuff you've had to deal with. Is there a trade that sticks out for you that was a really tough one, and how you navigated your way through, and maybe some learnings from it?
Oh, there's been several, Stu. Some
Mhm.
doozies.
Yeah.
A few I probably wouldn't mention, but one is pretty, it was definitely a learning experience. I had been in charge of a department that handled third party sourcing while I was with Sims, and I had this one trade. It was some containers that of HMS that was going to Puerto Rico. And they were going to Vietnam. It was the first order I had going to Vietnam from Puerto Rico. And I was like, this is going to be great. We're going to do so well. The customers are going to love this material. Well, unfortunately, I got the call and it was, hey, Autumn, our customer opened up the container randomly at customs. They opened it and they found uh, a whole forklift. And I'm like, what?
Oh man.
And they're like, "Oh,
Mm.
and it's leaking oil." And I said, "Oh, great.
Worse.
Are you sure there's no, like, operator that's still inside the forklift, to go with it, just to that would be great." So that was really tough, and it was months of dealing with customs and the Vietnamese government, and, it took a while. So, of course, I had to collaborate with a lot of my team overseas and in my department to help get that straightened out because, that was just a disaster. And it goes to a point where you have to be really careful with what you're doing and the people
Mm.
who you're buying from. And it's really important, to have that trust. So when the supplier who loaded the containers found out about it, of course they were horrified. It was oh, we put someone in charge that day and he screwed up and I think he was just trying to get the weight he didn't know and it was
Did
just the
he was
worst.
he was
And so
trying to get the weight, so he left the
yeah,
forklift inside.
yeah, just stick the forklift in there, it's fine. I'm sure they'll figure it out when it gets over there, and that's
Or they
also
won't they
another
won't they won't even notice. They won't notice
yeah,
there was a forklift inside.
yeah, and that's also a misnomer. Some people think, you can just load whatever you want in a container, and the people over in, Vietnam or what they think is a third world country, so to speak, will just take care of it. No,
Yeah.
that's not the case. So, yep, that was a very expensive lesson. Had to pay a lot of money to
Mm.
get out of that because the customs of Vietnam was like, oh. we're shipping this back, but we're going to make it sit here for a few months and let you pay demurrage on it.
Yeah.
So it was a really tricky situation. And then going back to that supplier, just, it was unacceptable.
Mm. Did you
And
deal with that
so,
supplier? Oh, sorry, carry on.
no, I was just going to say the supplier was obviously we didn't buy from them again.
Mm.
And
Mm.
the person who was arranging everything for us in Puerto Rico, did everything they could to, rectify the problem and they paid dearly for it. So it was tough, but we got through it.
Mm.
Yep.
I think it was Mark Celia that I interviewed previously here. And he was talking about when you think you're going to get away with something, just remember that if you're loading soil, when your container shakes over the next few weeks on the ship and putting it on the ship and taking it off the ship, all that soil drops to the bottom. So it's either coming out as they open it or it's coming out right at the end. Either way, they will see it. So it's not as simple as blending and trying to hide things in your loads. Um, it always comes out at the end.
Yes, it does. Indeed.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it over your 20 odd years
We've
and
seen our
being at
share of interesting things. So
yeah, absolutely. And being at Sims, you had such a big network. So you would have been buying from all around the world and selling all around the world.
definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have loaded quite a few containers in our day.
I'm sure. No, I remember being in New Zealand and Michael Carey used to speak to you a lot
Yeah,
from New Zealand about
that's right. Yep.
container sales. Yeah.
Yep.
And Autumn, what about decisions that you've had to make in your career? Have there been any tough ones that stand out for you?
Uh, well, I mean, last year, Stu, it was a trying year for logistics, as you know.
Mm,
In the US, it was, you couldn't get the truckers, you couldn't get the containers, you couldn't get the labor. And last year was really challenging year for us at United. And I think we handled it like real professionals. We would have months where the shipping line would take our reservation and allocation and then at the last minute say, "Oh, sorry, we can't do it." And so, we'd still have those orders and people depending on us to move out their scrap. So, we kept the orders and the freights were going higher every month. Um,
mm,
you know, I mean, we just had to continue and it was tough because you're taking a hit on, your margins. You can't go back and say, "Oh, well, I need this money to make up for it." That wasn't the case. I mean, we
mm,
really took hits to really prove ourselves that we were in this market and very serious about growing the business and being reliable brokers and reliable
mm,
traders. So I think that was tough for us, but I think it was a great decision to keep moving forward and not go back and say, "Well, sorry, we had a perfect excuse. The shipping line isn't going to honor their agreement, so we can't honor our
yeah.
agreement with you." But we didn't. We continued
Mm,
to fight for that allocation, and things, believe me, were slow. And sometimes it would take 2 months to get an order out. Sometimes even a little longer, but we did it. So that was tough, but we got through it. Now things tend to be moving normal.
mm,
Pre-COVID.
yeah. Um, it's interesting because I think what you just experienced or what you've just explained is really going to hold you in good stead in the future because people know that you're reliable. Even when times get tough, you still supply the material. And that's really important. That comes across a lot in the interviews that I do, that both parties are often having a tough time. It's about being able to work through that together and not just drop your counterparty. If you get through those hard times and you're willing to accept and lose, um, often you find there's a win at the end of the day. And I think what yours might be is that relationship gets so much stronger. Talking about COVID, we're far away. New Zealand's, the other end of the world. Getting shipping lines here was really hard. Getting container ships here was really hard. It became really tough. I sell as well to Pakistan, Bangladesh, India. Got some great markets in there, and my good friends at Better Deals, I had probably 5 to 10,000 ton parcels with them when all of a sudden our container rates went from to Pakistan from New Zealand went from about $1,500 US to $6,500 US overnight.
Yeah,
because ships weren't coming in.
that's right.
That was extremely difficult. I mean, I had to really rely on my relationship I had with Osama and Uzair,
Hmm.
to kind of talk it through and try and work out how we could get through that all together. And we did. We got through it all together. And it was a lose lose. But at the end of the day, we both, nobody felt the other party had done them an injustice. So
Right.
our relationship gets stronger by working together. We realize that there are certain factors that can happen that are out of your control, but it's how you manage those situations. Um, my wife always says, don't let a good crisis go to waste. So if there's a crisis and you don't know how to deal with it, hopefully it'll strengthen your relationship with another party. That's one thing you get out of it. That's something that will be really helpful in the marathon of life instead of just thinking about the short sprint where you might lose a few dollars on an actual parcel right now.
And it's a small world. And as far as, scrap metal is concerned, recycled metals, I should say, you can't hide.
Yeah,
It will get you in the end. That's for sure.
absolutely. I'm still flabbergasted by the amount of joker brokers out there, right? By the amount of people that let down their counterparties, that don't necessarily pay in full and play merchants, that I still can't believe in such a small industry they get away with it. But I think they change names and business entities and they just keep going. So what really comes across in all these conversations that I've had is know your counterparty. Just know who you're dealing with at the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
100%.
And that leads me to think about collaboration. And it's great if you can reach out to a party and say, hey, I'm looking at selling to somebody for the first time. Have you dealt with them before? Those sort of things are really important to me. It's not done a lot in our industry. People still, even after all these years, hold it very close to their chest. How do you collaborate? Obviously, speaking at the latest Scrap Expo is something as well, but how have you collaborated over the years?
Well, you mean based on trade or just overall in general,
In
with
general, how
that
do you
in general?
collaborate and rely on relationships and people in
I
the
mean,
industry or trade?
this is a relationship business. So I can't do my job without collaborating with my team. Of course, I have so many people who support me in my role, whether it's, logistics or sales or, the team that we have that's very strong over in India. But I've seen, the director, managing partner, where you would think that they would be in high competition in India together, but they work together to make different deals work. Like you might have a position out that, it's kind of like, maybe you need more time to ship or whatever, maybe a price, but I've seen them collaborate on different trades, depend like switching positions and everything. And, it's definitely one of our our competitors. But those relationships really make a difference when you really get in a tough spot and you can call out on your competition. Maybe you worked with them at a different, you worked together at a
Mhm.
different firm once. And that was really the case with him. And I was really impressed. I was like, wow, that's amazing that you guys would be able to pull that, do that together. Where he could have been like, forget it, man. I'm not
Yeah,
doing
go
that.
under. Yeah, yeah.
That's your problem. Yeah, but I thought
Mm.
that was really impressive. So I like to see that. But again, I over the years I've had I had a big team at Sims. Um, we were big but small. So, we really collaborated on so many different projects to get shipments out. Here at United. It's the same thing. I mean, I have a core group of people who I really count on. And we have to collaborate every day to get this to
Mm.
work.
Also, I mean, just to go back to events, you said that the guys in India, although they were opposition, they had worked previously together. Matt Kripke the other day was telling me how a lot of the relationships with his opposition, he had made through ISRI events or BIR events, actually attending these conferences. And you don't realize at the time, but you're actually very like-minded. You enjoy having a beer together and actually sitting down and talking about things in the industry and you become friends. Next thing you know, these are the guys that you're competing with, but at the same time will help you out of a bind. And that's really, you can't plan ahead. You don't know when it's going to happen, but having that in your pocket is just hugely helpful.
It's so true.
Mm. And then as well about events. I mean, you spoke at the Scrap Expo. Now that's a form of collaboration. Yourself, Jennifer Betts, and the other ladies getting together and talking about women in recycling, how we can bring in the next generation, how we can make it more open to women in recycling, the impact women are having in recycling, things like that. And obviously, I think it was hosted by my good friend Brett Eckhart as well, who would have
Right.
been amazing to do that because he's also a big proponent of it. So
Yeah, it
that's
was a great
collaboration
event.
as well.
Yeah,
Mm,
it was a great event, and I would say it feels really good to know you have more people on your side, and it's not just, the women part of it, but, now you feel like this camaraderie, right, after so many years, and then you get out there and do the conventions and something smaller like Scrap Expo, which was really cool. It wasn't huge like, you know, normal conventions. I'm not bashing Israel or anything, but and there's plenty of great different focal points for Israel with the regions that I like too. But this one was a little bit different. It was just smaller and you could really focus on getting to know more people. I felt like people had more time to really talk.
mm,
Whereas, like, when you do nationals at ISRI, it's just so tough to get to everybody and you're running from different meetings and it gets a little hectic. But, big plug here for Scrap Expo. It was hit by
yeah, it's awesome.
recycling today. It was definitely a great format. I really enjoyed that. It was small, perfect, couple days, boom.
Mm,
You get to see everybody that's there. You do like one big event and then you're done. It's great. I really
yeah.
like that.
I heard amazing things about it from some people that went the first time, for others that had attended it the second time. I'll definitely be making my way through next year. Just yeah, keen to see what it's all about. Sounds amazing. But to talk about, you put yourself out there, and all of a sudden it's now, hey, there's a whole bunch of us, and I feel a little bit more comfortable, and there's camaraderie. Words that you've used. Don't you find it's often fear that holds you back and not putting yourself out there? And then when you do, what you were scared of, which was that people were going to cut you down when you put your head up, all of a sudden everybody's lifting you up and going, oh, welcome. We love having you here. Um,
Yeah.
is there anything you can speak about that?
Yeah, I mean, we tend to be our own worst enemies and our worst critics. So I have really tried to, change that up and be more confident. Why not? It's not easy to talk about these things sometimes, but I guess it's more like practice makes perfect. I mean, you remember your first podcast, right? So it
Absolutely.
wasn't easy, but now look at you. You're like an expert. So, obviously the more you continue to do it, the more you get comfortable, right?
Mm.
So that's really where I am right. Just kind of trying to find my way, I suppose,
Yeah, it's
on that
amazing.
front.
And yeah, good. We've got all the experience on the trading side. We know that. And now getting a bit of experience or putting yourself out there and speaking at events and things like that. There's a lot of us here that are doing it as well. And we kind of lift each other. But I think the point also is for other people that are tempted to put their head up, you're not going to have it cut off, right? You'll find that when you do put your head up, all of a sudden, you have a whole lot of people who reach out to you that go, yeah, we're here to help you. I've been having over the last 2 months, every week, I'm having a different online chat with somebody around the world who's either looking to do the same thing or has been doing the same thing for a long time. And a massive shout out to Brett Eckhart, who really, when you're looking to do this sort of stuff, he puts his arm over your shoulder and says, come with me. I'll show you and I'll help you. And where can I help you best or most? And it's been really helpful. And then, yeah, you've got a whole heap of people trying to do it at the moment and getting out there. And we all love Jennifer Betts's content as well. She's been great. And you've got Michael Goldstein, who's putting himself out there, which is great to
Yeah.
see. Mike's Mike from Scrap Expo was really fun. obviously John Sacco's been doing it for a long time and the
Right.
Godfather. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think the story is really for others are looking to do it, reach out and just do it and we'll embrace.
Yes. We're an industry that has been in the shadows for a long time. So I
Mm,
appreciate the enthusiasm that everyone is showing by doing these podcasts.
yeah. So, Autumn, I know you have a lot longer to go in your career, but I like to always ask if you were to look back over it must be 25 years or so now, um, what would you say the highlight has been for you?
I would say that the probably one of the most amazing things is really getting to know different cultures. That's
Mm,
been very satisfying to me. And doing the traveling that I was fortunate enough to do around the world with BIR. And that's been probably one of the most satisfying parts of my career, because you really get a chance to see what that is like, going to another culture,
mm,
another country such as like India, that was amazing for me, that experience. And each country I go to, I always learn so much, whether it's from dining out with the people who are hosting me,
mm,
or going to the different scrap yards in that country. There's so many different things to learn about each other's culture that bring us together. We have so many different similarities, and I think that's why I really enjoy my job so much, is because I do understand that
mm,
we're very similar. We all have families. We all love our families. We all want to, do well and encourage our kids to do well. So I think we have the basic, you know, core similarities, no matter which country you go to, whether it's China, Korea, India, you know, Costa
mm,
Rica, wherever it is. That's the core. That's the center core. We all want to be happy. We all want to be successful with what we do. And I think that would definitely be my number one.
mm.
Um,
That's awesome. I tell
yeah,
you,
looking at.
you become quite numb to it all after doing it for a long time. You've been doing it for ages as well. 25 years of traveling around the globe, meeting new culture. I say you become numb because it becomes normal, but it's great sometimes to stop and look back and go, well, what have I actually enjoyed about the previous 25 years? And mine is very similar to you. Like, I absolutely love meeting people from different parts. I love learning about their culture, but then at the same time, finding out how similar we are. I know I'm just repeating exactly what you said, but it is so similar for me. We travel a lot, and learning those things from people, and then finding out how similar we are, and tips and tricks and stuff that you can learn from different parts of the world. It was quite funny. I don't know if you know Michael Movsas, who was president of Sims North America for a while.
Yep.
So he's a good friend of mine and was my mentor for a very long time. He was the CEO of the company that I was with in South Africa. And he reached out to me just a few weeks ago and he said he's loving listening to the podcast. And it's so interesting for him how similar we all are around the world because so many of the things he taught me are coming up in this podcast all the time. And that's what he was kind of saying. He was trying to say, he's saying all the things that we learned in South Africa, which at the bottom of the world, far away from the United States, far away from Europe, etc., especially far away from Australia and New Zealand, he was teaching exact same things that some of the goats in our industry have been speaking about on the podcast and have learned over their 50 odd years. So yeah, you see that a lot when you travel.
Absolutely. Yep.
Mm.
And I'm sure he was a good mentor for you.
Yeah, he was amazing. Yeah, Michael's a great guy. Can you give us any tips for people out there who are trying to be, or let me say, trying to optimize their trading strategy? So, the third party that you buy from, the owner operators, these processors, what are the tips that you could give them to be better at trading or to be a better supplier?
I would say it's pretty basic advice. I mean, you have to pick up the phone. Today so much I see everybody just gets so lazy, just so complacent with using their phones and texting. And believe me, it's a great tool. But if I didn't pick up the phone to actually have a conversation on the phone with that person, I probably wouldn't be able to execute as many trades. Sometimes people just aren't available. But I would say, get out there, go see your clients. Obviously, I mean, it's nothing spectacular, but I'd say that we're kind of missing out on that with
Mm,
the technology. Just picking up the phone, having that on the phone conversation with somebody is really important. Or going to see them, having the FaceTime is also very important.
yeah. I think if we harp a little bit on technology, I mean, billions of dollars are traded over WhatsApp every
Yes.
year. It's absolutely crazy. And the amount of WhatsApp messages, I can only imagine you're getting dealing with so many third parties. The amount I was dealing with just having my own business was absolutely ludicrous. So, yeah, I think making more phone calls, um, it's time consuming. I think that's probably why the majority of people aren't phoning. It's easier to just text while you are having dinner with your family, unfortunately. It's easier to, WhatsApp while you are um, in a meeting about logistics in the office, whatever it might be. Like, I think that's what you're finding why people rely on messaging so much. And I don't know where we find the time to make those phone calls. My wife always says we're putting out literal fires during the day. And to try and find that time is really, really hard. But I agree with you that the value you get from it is huge. It's how we find the time that I'm not quite sure exactly how we do that.
Yeah, it can be tough, especially when you have people who are on the other side of the world. So I get that, but
Mhm.
you get a lot done talking on the phone.
Absolutely. And there's a lot missed over messages, right? There's a lot of tone that
Yeah,
can be misread as well. Sometimes you wonder why somebody's upset with you, but he's not upset. He's just being short because he's in a meeting or whatever
exactly.
else it might be, right? And to try and
Right.
negotiate a deal over WhatsApp can take hours where it could be a 2-minute phone.
Exactly. Just pick
Yeah.
up the phone or go see your customer.
Yeah. Yeah. Knowing your counterparty also is just so important when you can have that ability to go and see them as well. Yeah. It makes a really big. And for these, say, operators and processors, when they're trying to find a new buyer, granted, you are a new buyer that they might be speaking to. What do you think they should do to make sure that these new buyers are legit buyers? We've spoken about bad actors in the industry. How do they make sure that the new buyer is trustworthy?
Well, I would start, and I've done this, is just, checking the reputation. I mean, not everyone is going to be an ISRI member. It certainly helps. Or a BIR member or anywhere else in the world, with these different memberships, you could have, you know, 25, 30 of them. There's like 10 in the US, like AIST and all these different uh, memberships you can have. But I mean, the basics for Scrap, I would say is remember, just check around. They should have some references. Definitely do your homework. You know, it's a really bad situation to be in when you find yourself kind of stuck with something because somebody who you thought was a reputable person turns out not to be a reputable person. And it's really just a couple phone calls, just to say,
Mm,
hey, can you give me some references of who you've done business with before? And then it's a small world, with the scrap industry. So somebody probably knows something um, about that company. I guarantee it.
mm.
So that it's that easy.
And that leads us, I guess, back to collaboration. Having that ability to reach out to people that you can say, have you dealt with X Foundry or whoever it might be, or X Trader? Having those people in your network to be able to contact is absolutely vital. Whether you're gaining that network through conferences or however you're doing that, or whether it's, it could just be on social media. Um, it's really important to have that network. I agree with you completely. Referrals or reviews of some sort are massively, massively. There's also a product called Trade Fox. I'm not sure if you've ever looked into Trade Fox. I haven't actually personally looked into it. I have just seen that they have some sort of review system. And that maybe I'll have a chat with Chris Yerby to explain it a bit better on one of these episodes. Have you used it
Yeah,
before?
that's a good idea. I've
So
heard
you
of
haven't
them. I've
used, oh,
never
you haven't.
tried to use it, no, but I've heard
Okay.
of it.
Yeah, because I think that's really important that when finding a new buyer, you actually have the ability to find out how they have traded previously with others. And if you can, and somehow we can make that easily accessible, it just makes it so much easier for all of us. It also stops those bad actors operating in that way because they know that there is a way to find them out. There is, it shows that if they carry on this way or they don't properly or honestly or reliably, there is a way to kind of make that known in the industry. So hopefully that keeps them a little bit more honest.
Exactly. Yeah, you
Mm,
can't hide in this industry, that's for sure.
yeah. And is there any way that your suppliers, so say your third party suppliers, the processors around the world, how do they become a preferred supplier to you or to buyers out there?
Uh, well, I mean, you do have to start somewhere, right? And give somebody a chance. But it takes a lot of trust. I would say even like I have suppliers in Costa Rica. I have somebody that helps me manage that business there that's on the ground. So
Mm,
if you don't have somebody that's there on the ground, if something happens, that can be tough because then you have to go, which is fine. I mean, I could do it, but it's more cost effective to have somebody actually
mm,
there helping you out and that's representing you. So that's where agents do help.
right.
And that can be on the supply side, that can be on the sales side as well. So we do
Mm.
use very highly qualified agents who can help us manage the business.
And but are there any ways that these third parties that you're buying from can become, autumn preferred suppliers? How do they become at the top of your book when you're looking for certain material, maybe wanting to pay a better price, or it's difficult to sell at the moment? These few clients are the ones that you look after or you make sure have always got a market.
I mean, so, thinking about, you know, it's different parts of the business, right, Stu? So I know for me, with the business that I've built in the US in North America, um, sometimes we provide a lot of value at United. And that what that means is not only are we representing that supplier's material going overseas, but there's a lot of things that go into this business. It's capital intensive. It's a lot of financing that we offer to bring that cargo overseas. So we're buying it directly from the supplier, but it does take 30, sometimes 40 to 60 days to cross over the
Yeah.
waters to get to where it needs to go. So who's financing it? We are.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's all these different aspects as far as a brokerage business goes. Um, but you know, cheapest isn't always the best, right? So I'm not going to say or claim that I'm always the cheapest price. I may, need something better, but you get what you pay for. So
Mm,
we bring a lot of value to this trade, and I hope, I think that my suppliers really recognize this.
mm. Yeah, I'm sure you had huge value, no doubt. And in your 25 odd years, how have you seen this industry change?
Oh yeah, I mean tremendously. Just the the way we transport the material. Steel is my baby. That's what I was, trained to do for many, many years. And now moving on to United, I'm more well versed with the aluminum and the stainless and the copper, right? I'm not an expert. I'm learning every day. But as well on the steel side, I mean, I remember when you only could ship steel by bulk vessel. And
Mm,
then, in the early 2000s, we recognized that the shipping containers were going over from the US to Asia empty. So why not, you know, why not why not jump in on, a little bit of profit there, especially during those days when the freights were so expensive. That was 2007. Um, so that was a tremendous change in the industry that we saw. Being able to, it brought so many people into the trade, right? So you didn't
Yeah.
have just like the large exporters, like the Prolers or the News, that were able to do this. You could have the smaller companies that would jump in and be able to ship by shipping container. So that was a big change in the industry,
Mm.
for sure. Yeah, that
Uh,
was probably one of the biggest, I think.
it was a huge change because what it also did was it brought buyers from those areas that were buying that could buy the container material or container material into your region as well. So not only were you able to now pack a container instead of bulk, or if you were selling to a bulk supplier, you could now ship your own. Actually, people from those regions were moving in and going, well, setting up their own brokerage firms or setting up
Yeah,
their own trading firms, whatever it might be, into those areas. It changed the dynamics massively in the industry. I remember it quite well. We had 85, 86 yards through sub-Saharan Africa. And when all of a sudden the containers became cheaper than bulk to move, we were a really big bulk supplier. And all of a sudden, those people from those regions all around the world were moving into our area and setting up shop, all of a sudden packing containers. And our customers that had always just put it on a truck and delivered to us, all of a sudden we were finding containers. We had to change our model overnight. We actually went out and employed a massive amount of reps to try and get the material from source because we lost supply of a huge amount of the smaller metal recyclers. And that was
yeah.
purely because the containers came in and couldn't rely on only bulk anymore.
I'd say that was probably the biggest change that we've seen in the last 20
Mm.
years.
And Autumn, have a bet. What's it going to look like in 10 years' time?
Uh, 10 years time, I think we'll see a lot more consolidation in the steel industry, even like the aluminum industry as well. It's going to have to be, you know, it it's been fragmented for a long time. So that's definitely going to have to be more fine-tuned. Um, we have so much capacity coming online for the steel, for the aluminum. These steel mills, these melt shops are gonna need a lot of metallics, right? So,
Mm,
I think that they're gonna do what they can to try to secure those metallics in the future.
mm.
So I think we'll see a lot more consolidation for sure.
So you think the melters will be buying more and more metal recyclers to be able to lock in the material from source?
Seems to be a pretty good playbook for the ones that have done it already.
Mm, yeah, interesting. And who do you watch in the industry? Who's doing some interesting, exciting things that you think it's worth keeping an eye on?
Well, I think that, of course, I have to plug my company. I think that we're doing a lot of really good things for the industry in United Metal Solutions Group. Um, we've opened up quite a few processing centers, scrap yards in the 5 states, and looking to expand with more feeder yards, more equipment, going into like these, like for instance, in Trenton, we went in and bought that yard, and it was a mess. It was old and needed a lot of upgrades. Went in and spent millions of dollars, and I mean, people can't believe what it looks like now,
That's
from
great.
compared to like, 4 years ago. So that's been tremendous. So I think that my company's doing a lot of really good things in the industry. Um, who else? Of course, I have to give Jennifer Betts a very good
Yeah,
plug
we know that.
and say, I think that she's a tremendous influence on, what's happening today in the industry as far as getting out there with the word of recycled metals and, how our industry really is making a difference for the
Yeah.
environment and for the economy.
Jen's an absolute gun. She's awesome. I love reading her content daily. I love the chats that we have. I've actually got a master class with her for Born Scrappy on marketing for the processes, to learn from Jen kind of how we can put ourselves out there and that. So we'll be releasing that in the next few weeks as well. Yeah, Jen's a great one. So that's kind of where it ends on the trading experience. But before we go, I do want to ask you just a little bit more about autumn. So I guess when everybody gets to the BAR in ISRI, they can run up to you and tell you that you like similar things or whatever it might be. So let's get to know you a little bit better. What's your favorite TV show or movie?
Have you seen the series called Money Heist? That was really cool. That was so well done. It was all in Spanish. I had to, my Spanish isn't great, but so I had to do a lot of reading the whole time. But
Right.
it was such a great series. Loved every second of it. Very good. I'm not a binge TV watcher. I'm kind of a nerd. I don't watch a lot of TV. I like to read. And I really just couldn't stop watching that. It was great.
Hmm. Okay. Is it only in Spanish? I don't speak even a
They
little bit of
do like
Spanish.
the English where, but it looks weird.
Subtitles.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll try and learn
Gotta
more
catch
about that and try to find
That's a
out.
must see.
What's your favorite book, nerd? I also read a lot. So,
Okay.
yeah, what's your favorite
Have
book?
you read The Alchemist? It's a classic.
Abs-
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yep, that's my
Great.
favorite.
It's a brilliant, brilliant book. In
It
fact, somebody
really
mentioned it the other day. And it
Yeah,
was in a podcast or somewhere else, but yeah, it's an exceptional book. Yeah,
love
try read as much as possible. I was always a jock at school and didn't believe reading was important, and I learned to read when I'm older if I ever needed it. Um, but it's funny how things change. I can't get enough of reading books at the moment. So yeah, it's a great way to learn. It's a great way to relax. Yeah, I absolutely love reading books. And when you travel a lot, sitting on airplanes, sitting at the airports, wherever you might be, just being able to open up a book is hugely
Indeed, yes, and there's
beneficial.
audibles too, you can do that.
I do a lot of audibles, and then I travel with my Kindle for sure. And where is your favorite place to visit?
Well, I'm from New Jersey. Well, I'm not originally from New Jersey. I'm originally from Florida, so props to my home state, but, I've lived in New Jersey for quite a long time now, and I have to say the Jersey Shore is my absolute favorite. I love it. Growing up on Florida beaches, that was pretty nice. Beautiful water, but there's something about the Jersey Shore, it just speaks to me. I love it. So,
That's
that's
so funny.
definitely my
So
favorite place.
having never visited the Jersey Shore, I did watch the Jersey Shore quite a few times in my much younger years. And I was always, I found it very, very
That's
interesting.
not well, Stu, that's a little different from what I'm going where I
Well, I
am,
don't know.
Jersey Shore.
It
That's a
sounds
little
like that's what you
crazy.
like.
No, that would have been me in my 20s, but, early 20s. But no, no, now we're down more towards the Cape May sides. It's a little
Right. Okay.
quieter. Yeah. Just a
Got
family
you.
time.
Thanks for putting it in context because I was imagining
I
you
know we get
binge
a bad
drinking till
rap.
4 o'clock in the
In
morning.
the
And
Jersey Shore.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Do you have a favorite quote?
Uh, Oh, geez. Let's see. Um, okay, I know. This is a good one. I don't think anyone ever said it except like one of my college professors. And it was, to kind of inspire us to get more work done, I think. And it was not what you say, but it's what you take, what actions that you take that will lead to your success. So that was a good one. I'll take that
I love that.
prior
That's
teacher.
really good. Not very commonly used, but really impactful
Thanks.
because yeah, I believe in that 100%. It's your actions, not your word. Yeah.
Yes.
Autumn, that's all the time we have. So
Okay,
that
Stu.
was really cool. Absolutely
Awesome.
loved it. It's the
Thanks for
first time
asking
we've
me.
had a good chat for this amount of time. So it's been great getting to know you. Will you be at the BIR?
I probably won't be there this year, but my boss will be there, the president of United Metal Solutions Group. His name is Kubir
Great.
Singh, so he will be there. You can catch him at
Great. I'll make sure to catch up with him as well.
Excellent.
And I'll probably do some of these episodes from there as well. So I'm looking forward to it being there. And then I'll be at ISRI in April as well. So
I'll
we'll
see you
definitely
there.
catch up there. Amazing. Thanks, Autumn. Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
Stu. All right, see you next time.